You don't really need me to tell you much about the importance of cyber and artificial intelligence and quantum computing and all that's related. And you have absolutely the right folks to give us a rundown on all that. You have Rear Admiral Kathleen Creighton, who formerly headed up the Navy's cybersecurity division. She's also nowadays very involved in the Women's Memorial and works with the Mantech and is still very involved in the space. You have Major General Matthew Easley, who teaches this and leads thought leadership and more at our National Defense University, and in his past life, among a number of things, brought artificial intelligence to the Army Futures Command, kind of stood that up. Think about that as a task. And Dr. Wanda Jones-Heath, who is a Principal Cyber Advisor for the Department of the Air Force. So you see we have the multi-service component here with an absolutely amazing background. And bringing it all together is General Yi, who in one of his last assignments worked at the Defense Information Agency, I'm forgetting the S there, Systems Agency, I guess. And he's our poster boy of the Global Security Forum, if you look on the column there too. So we have our poster boy as the moderator. You can't get a whole lot better than that. So with that, I'll turn it over to General Yi.
Don't stare at the mole, okay? Anyway, hey, thanks, Luke, and it's good to be back. I've had a chance to work with these three amazing leaders in government, and so it's kind of fun to get back together. We have the Navy Department, so Navy, Marine Corps represented. We have the Army, and we have the Air Force Department, which is Air Force and Space Force. And in case you were wondering, Dr. Jones-Heath, sitting next to me, is a Tier 3 SES. That means she's a 3-star equivalent in our government, in our military. So she outranks us all today. Just to let you know, a little bit of information there. Today we get to combine two interesting subjects that scare us a little bit. Cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. So we're combining these two to have a discussion. And more recently, we have become more aware that AI can help us or it could help our adversaries work against us. Adversarial AI. And combining that cyber and AI is the top of our discussion today. You'll hear a lot of cyber expertise amongst this group here, as well as how do you defend against what is happening out there in the DoD, Department of Defense today. I just will point out that General Dr. Matt Easley is a unicorn in that he was the director of the Artificial Intelligence Task Force for the Army, as well as a Chief Information Security Officer for the Army. So he kind of lived in both worlds as a senior officer for our Army. But I have an opening question. I'm going to bring my glasses out here. Okay, so, and the sequence will be you, okay?
Got it.
So, boy, girl. From your experience in the Department of Defense, please tell us about the relationship between artificial intelligence, future warfare capabilities, and cyber risks, but also take a moment to maybe do a little self-intro or shout out to something, because we are, after all, here in Connecticut. So, you first.
Okay. First of all, thank you to the getting an invite, and certainly have been a good colleague and friend here at Garrett. So as a civilian, I've never worn a uniform, so I have 34 years as a government civilian my entire career. So, being in this space is certainly humbling. I would say that from a cybersecurity perspective, when I talk to my boss, Secretary Kendall, he says we're out of time, right? When it comes to being able to deter and or win against the next adversary. He says in 3 words who the next adversary is: China, China, China. So we have a huge focus right now in the Department of Air Force that is focused on China and getting to that fight. When we think about AI and the intersection of cybersecurity, you want to make sure you understand how the adversary is using AI to gain a competitive advantage. We know that we are a superior force by design, but I will tell you, based on the threat information and the things that we are working on within the department, China is right behind us. In some cases, their capabilities are outweighing us, and we know that. So we're doing everything we can to invest, to understand how they're using AI to gain that competitive advantage. When I see how they're using AI, I'll give you 3 examples. Posting generating false positives as a way to confuse and overwhelm our security operations centers, our network defenders. They're just, constantly attacking the vulnerabilities that we know exist. Secondly, they are using manipulation as a way to influence our investments, our decisions, things like that. And then lastly, automated attacks, as a weapon. They're using AI to weaponize how we are going to react to what they're doing to us. They want to disrupt everything that we're doing from a mission operations perspective. Now, how do we counter that? Number one, knowing that they're doing this and how they're doing it. So we have to be proficient in how we look at how they're using AI and any other tools and technologies to distract us. One area that really concerns me is our cyber and IT, in Army terms, signal workforce. We are certainly trying to recruit and retrain and retain our highly experienced folks, because we know that as technology moves really quickly, we have to have the best people, and we have great people. Our airmen and guardians are very smart, but we have to, as leaders, provide that environment where we can accept a lot of innovation, AI, and not be afraid of it. It's goodness and it's badness, as Garrett mentioned. So part of that is, if you're majoring in STEM, even philosophy majors, if you're innovative, those are the type of folks that we're going to need in the future. This is something that, as I begin to exit left, we need the next future leaders to come behind us and have an open mind, open culture of accepting innovation as part of what we need to do to transform.
I think I saw some cyber questions hands go up earlier, and so how many cadets, midshipmen, think about going into the cyberspace? Any? There's at least one. Okay, so we'll have a question from you, I'm sure, at some point. Okay, putting you on the spot there. Okay, over to Dr. Matt Easley.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So glad to be here, and Garrett, thank you for inviting me. It's an honor to be on this panel. Again, I want to shout out to all the young faces we see out in the audience. It's amazing to see all our military academy people out here, the Coast Guard, the Annapolis. It's amazing to see. I'm doing similar things as you were doing 40 years ago, so please do this and continue doing it. Lifelong learning is really important, and it starts now, and you're going to use these lessons that you pick up today for years to come. I'm going to do a quick dig at Army Futures Command. As they said, that I was put in Army Futures Command to set up the Army AI Task Force about 5 years ago. Love Army Futures Command and what it's doing, but I think that was a wrong decision because AI is not the future. AI is today. You use AI 100 times every day with what you're doing on your cell phone. You got here using AI, you manage your schedule using AI, people market to you on AI. So AI is all present today, and it's only going to get bigger. With large language models coming, again, large language models here, you may be using large language models to help you write some of your papers. I know my children in high school, they use it every day. That's only going to become more progressive or more common in the years to come. You can think of any business enterprise that you might be in, from logistics management to cybersecurity to the medical field, all are going to be using these models. And these models are different than others. When we first kind of stood up the AI task force, and I highly encourage you to read the Army AI strategy. I wrote the first one in 2019, and then during the height of COVID, I wrote the next one because we were all isolated. So I said, okay, let's just write another strategy. So both those are out on the internet, and you can read them. In those just talked about the infrastructure we needed to do AI, the data we needed to do AI, We've built a lot of those things already. From what DISA has done, how we've created cloud infrastructure for the Department of Defense to use, that infrastructure is here, it's now. And with large language models, you don't need that much data. The data is already embedded in those models. What you need is your data that you can curate for you and your uses. If you look at cybersecurity, all the cyber attacks that we're facing today are all have a machine learning element behind them doing the attack. They're probing our networks using machine learning. Our responses have to be at machine speed to defend against them. But it's not just cybersecurity. If you look at how our financial markets are running, those have been AI enabled for decades now. I do want to talk about an article I read a few weeks ago talking about the case for appointing AI as your new chief operating officer. It's that level of pervasiveness that AI is going to be better at building a schedule than you're going to be able to build a schedule. It's going to be better at laying out a plan, a PowerPoint project that you're going to be able to do. So it's really going to transform your jobs and how you think about your jobs. I don't see it going away. I don't think it's going to kill your job, but it's going to transform your job, and you have to be smart enough to know how to react to it. And it goes about making yourself educated, because you need to give the vision to these systems. These systems aren't that smart. They're not ever going to be that smart. But you can do the vision thing, right? You can see where we need to be going as an enterprise, as a person, and use that data, use your capabilities to make these systems strong. Given some of the other aspects of questions this morning, I at least want to highlight two other documents that I at least had a hand in writing. There's the Army Enterprise Digital Modernization Strategy that the Army DoD CIO wrote a couple of years ago, so you can at least see what we were thinking about kind of the intersection of data, cybersecurity, and artificial intelligence. And then finally, I had the honor of last summer getting the strategy for operations in the information environment signed by the Secretary of Defense. And if you want to understand how to combat disinformation, how we should train our force to do information operations, please read it. Thank you.
Well, my takeaway, Matt, was, and Matt's a product of the United States Military Academy, that if you were there today, you might be using ChatGPT to help with your papers. That's my takeaway from what I just heard you say. But over to Admiral Creighton, and Admiral Creighton and I got to work together at Fort Meade, lovely Fort Meade. She was on the 5th floor, I was on the 6th floor, so we got to spend a lot of time together. And I'll give it away, well, I'll let you say where you're from.
Okay.
So over to you.
Thanks, Garrett. Thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you to the World Security Forum for hosting this event and inviting so many young people. It's so exciting to see the next generation. Call out my 3 mids from Naval Academy right there. Whoop, whoop. So I am from the Nutmeg State, Connecticut. I'm from Ridgefield, Connecticut, and I haven't been back in 10 years, so this is really exciting being back here. Just a little background. I think you wanted to tell a little background. Yeah, I was a product of Navy ROTC from University of Notre Dame, and came into the Navy at a time when women, because of combat exclusion, we were not allowed to be in combat units, and so I went into a bunch of things where I thought I wanted to get out. You know, I was just not happy after 4 years. So I found communications. And I'm kind of telling you this story because you're going to have a journey. All you young folks are going to have a journey in your career. And I guess what I want to kind of share with you is that it's not just like a straight line. Like you're here, and then you're going to be a cyber warrior, and then it's going to be great. You're going to do this. So I went into communications, and I fell in love with that. And then guess what? IP networks started standing up. So IP networks became part of communications and communicating throughout the Navy and the Joint Force. And then we needed to defend those networks, and that was cybersecurity. And then as that went along, the services recognized that, hey, we need specific people who are trained in this discipline. So we stood up within the Navy a group, an MOS or a career field that operated networks and communication systems. And then we've evolved from there to cyber and cyber operations. So, and that's when I retired as a Navy 2-star. I had worked in the information warfare, cybersecurity field. So that's kind of my journey. I'm a mother of 2 kids, and I had a husband who was willing to give up his career and become a stay-at-home dad so I could be an admiral. And for women in this room, that's a thing. And don't think it isn't a thing. Be careful who you marry. That would be my big advice. So back to the topic. I want to talk a little bit about where we've been or how we got here, and I'll be brief, but the Navy is all about platforms. They're about ships, they're about submarines, they're about airplanes. And they built, for most of our existence, they built those things. They had one systems command who built ships, submarines, airplanes. And they all had their own data that went back and forth between those platforms and the shore, exchanging data. And these things didn't really, sometimes they converged in a picture, a battle space awareness picture, but a lot of times it was just kind of back and forth. And so that is a problem if you think about AI, right? If you think about machine learning, because in AI, right, you want to have, or to use AI to the best, right, you want to have data that's clean, that's being correlated, that's in some sort of big data platform where you can access it. But what does the Navy look like? It looks like data that's in all these little data puddles, pools, streams, ponds, right? It's forward on a ship. It's on a Joint Strike Fighter. It's on a submarine. And so I guess my message to you is, all this stuff sounds really exciting and sexy, but it really comes back to the data, and the data being recognized as a strategic asset of us prioritizing, getting after, being able to access the data. And I'll just say a couple things about that. When you think about that, think about, when you get commissioned, you're not going to be big strategic thinkers, like sitting in the Pentagon writing strategies. You're going to be tactical officers, right? You're going to be on a ship, a plane, a ground unit of some sort, and you're going to have data forward with you where you are. And so think about that in a fight, right? In a great power competition fight, let's say with China, that you have to think about where the data is going to sit. Is it all going to sit back in CONUS? Is it going to be forward with you? Is there going to be a mixture? What are we going to do when the pipes are disrupted? When we're in that DDIL environment. I always forget the acronym. Intermittent, contested, all that stuff. So we're in that environment where the big satellite pipes are down, and you're having to communicate via some kind of data tactical link, some kind of low-grade SATCOM. So think about that. And also, we're going to have to prioritize, right? We're not going to be able to deal with all the data. It's too expensive. The storage is too expensive. The compute is too expensive. So I think this is bringing about kind of a revolution in the way we think about our systems, where our data is, how we deal with our data, where it's kept, where it's stored, how it's transmitted. And then I just want to put in 2 other notes about our ability to use, really use automation, autonomous systems, machine learning systems, AI systems. And that is, we really have to speed up our experimentation and how we can't build this in 10 years, right? With AI, it has to be fast. So I applaud things I've seen that where the Undersecretary of Defense for Research and Experimentation is holding 4 times a year experiments where companies can come and show their technology, and we're able to make quick decisions on things that we want to try out, experiment with, get it wrong, fail fast, and so that's important. And then, so that's so data, experimentation, and then I would just say we have to partner, right? We can't do this whole thing by ourselves. We have to be able to partner. So I'm encouraged to see that, at least with, like, for example, within the Navy, we have the Naval Postgraduate School, we have organizations like the Defense Innovation Unit, we use all of our university-affiliated research labs, and they're really partnering on trying to move fast, get technology out into the hands of the warfighters who can experiment with it and figure out the best way to use it. And I'll just use one example I thought was really fascinating. So there's been experimentation with an AI-assisted landing aircraft carrier, aircraft landing system, where, coming in, your Top Gun, you're coming in, call the ball, Roger ball, they come in and land, as the aircraft carriers, moving around. And with AI, they've been able to get the number of adjustments that the pilot has to make to, altitude, speed, all the things. I'm not a pilot, but all those things you have to adjust, which is normally, they say, about 300 minor adjustments in the whole process of landing on the carrier, down to less than 10. So think about that impact on our ability to fight and win.
Well, thank you, Admiral Creighton. Connecticut produces a lot of Coast Guard admirals, but I don't know how many Navy admirals. So at least one in the Nutmeg State. I learned that just now, that this is Nutmeg State.
Yeah, Nutmeg State.
Okay, so Dr. Jones-Heath, what are the biggest concerns you have related to AI's impact on national security?
So thinking about the great power competition, we look at it through two lenses. The away game. How are we going to project power to get to the fight, in the Indo-PACOM region? And we know we can get there, but you have to think about all of the disruptions from logistics, from supply chain, from just getting the people, and the equipment over there safely and quickly. But then you also think about the home game. How many people think about the impact of national security on the things that we take for granted every day? Within the Space Force, the Space Force deploy in place, which means they depend upon commercial industry, electric, water, gas, just to produce the mission. And if there are attacks, and we know that they are happening daily on our commercial infrastructure, we have to partner with those entities to make sure that they are proficient, that they understand that they are being attacked, what they need to do to fix those vulnerabilities, what they need to do to ensure that the priorities that we're asking them to do for the nation is part of our strategy to recoup if needed. Some of the other things, and I know we're running out of time, but some of the other things, I think Dave Singer mentioned Volt Typhoon. And if you're not familiar with that, I suggest you read the reports on that. You may also hear it being called living off the land. We know that using AI technology, that the adversary has access to a number of systems, and once they get access, they stay there. And they assimilate to look like us, like they're supposed to be there. And how do we combat that? We have to make sure that we have continuous monitoring from a cybersecurity perspective. We have to make sure that we are able to detect their behaviors. If they do things or access things that person should not have credentials for, we have to be able to find those really quickly. We did find them in our system, but we don't know how long they were there. That's scary. And so knowing that they can use just basic techniques to access and stay in our systems, don't know what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, when they're going to exercise some of those vulnerabilities, but they can do it. And we are being very vigilant about understanding what they're trying to do to us.
We're going to go to questions in a minute. I want to ask Dr. Easley just to talk really quickly about workforce in cyber.
Sure.
Super quickly.
So again, the workforce we've got to transform our workforce just immediately on what cyber is, what AI is, all these pieces, because we can't just outsource the development of everything to our defense contractors. And I love our defense contractors, but for our business systems, for our data, you have to be able to manage and own it as a business system owner. And you are going to soon own business systems. So please learn.
Okay, we're going to go to questions. I'm going to take a picture of the audience here real quick here. Oh, yeah, there we go. All right, okay. You all decide. All these hands go up.
Fight for it. Hello, my name is Braden Thompson, and I was wondering what you guys thought about the idea of the S-curve, which is with new technology. Usually, the way it goes is there's very little growth at the start, and then we enter a period of unprecedented growth, and then it flattens out, and we reach another point of very little is being advanced. With artificial intelligence, do you think we're still at the start of that curve where we haven't seen what it can do? Or do you think we're past the rampant period of growth from the last few years?
Okay, who wants that one? Matt, I'm looking at you.
Matt, why don't you take that?
Sure. I mean, in my mind, we are at the start. I mean, there's no. It has barely even impacted our society as people you hear. Some pundits claim, and I'll just say, as impactful as electricity or the internet. I mean, if you think of how impactful electricity was to us, or the internet, or the combustion engine, AI is going to be that one. It's starting to, you'll see some of the, in the military standpoint, some revolutionary military affairs. Drone warfare is the start of that, but it's only going to expand.
I certainly would agree. I'll add something. I believe that we are in the beginning. Just probably 2 weeks ago, Department of the Air Force, through the CIO, as well as the research lab, just launched NIPR GPT, which is an internal opportunity to do use cases that have an impact to the warfighter. And first week, we had about 80,000 users. I think we're up to about 200,000. And I was talking to an airman last night who's using NIPR GPT to help her particular role in her job. So we're in the beginning. I think folks are maybe hesitant. I think we spent 2 years admiring the problem, and now that we are starting to engage in it a little bit more.
All right. Someone else.
Good morning. I am Major Raddick. I'm an international affairs instructor over at West Point. I brought all you lovely cadets with me. This is for any or all of you, but particularly, ladies, I'm interested in your opinions as representatives of forces where you are really working with, as you said, very large systems. And I'm curious, is the United States doing enough to be nimble in the face of a rapidly evolving technology when our industrial base is not capable of producing platforms at a rate that could keep up with modern warfare, and where we have an acquisition system that is very much based on legacy procurement and does not have as many and as deep of ties with firms in these arenas? And how do we then take that to the point that you made, ma'am, in preserving partnerships, which may also become even more difficult as we think about how do we share AI? What data set do we train on? And how do we create interoperability in this nimble world?
That's like a 6-part question.
I know.
It is,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I feel like that's a question for General Ashley, I think.
Yeah.
Well, who wants to take that one?
Well, I'll take the first part.
All right.
There was a lot in there. So if you are familiar with Secretary Kendall's re-optimizing for great power competition, that started about 2 years ago when he talked about the operational imperatives, which is 7 operational imperatives looking at our readiness to be able to deter and defeat China. He started that as a way to get us to think about, what do we need to do differently? Are we organized correctly? Under great power competition, we're changing our commands. We're combining capabilities, looking at integration, looking at our investment strategies for cybersecurity and anything to do with IT. He's given us a lot of investment dollars in FY24, 25, and 26. Late to need, but it does start to look at our technical debt, being able to have those systems that can consume a lot of data so that we can take advantage of AI and other innovative ideas.
I would just add, the discussion with Admiral Lundy, right, where we talked about that our industrial base perhaps is not as robust as other countries, China. And I'm not sure that we're going to be able to, ramp it up in time. That's the answer. It's just we're going to ramp up our defense industrial base. I think it's going to be more partnerships. Make decisions like they have with the ice cutter that, hey, we're going to partner with some other nations who are maybe better at that. Our technology, in my opinion, is first rate. And when we get it in the hands of our sailors, soldiers, airmen, Marines, it's incredible, what they can do. But I just think we just have a different mindset. And I think a great example of it is the Chief of Naval Operations, first female service chief. She just put out her navigation plan for 2024. And the first statement in there is we have to be ready to potentially go to war with China by 2027. So it's like the first statement. So that's a sense of urgency and a laser focus on it, not kind of like ethereal, we're gonna, build the laser weapon, but just a very, we're gonna be ready, maximize the readiness of the force we have. That's kind of her focus, kind of a fight tonight focus. So I guess my answer is we're not going to outbuild. We just don't have the industrial base anymore to outbuild. I think we can outthink. We can we're going to use our technology in a smart way. We're going to use our partnerships. We're going to use our citizenry, right? We are a open society, and we have the support of our people. So.
Okay, well, we're getting close to time. 30 seconds, message to the audience, to the younger folks in the group, or we're wrapping it up. So, sorry, over to you. Closing statement, words of wisdom.
This is serious business. I certainly admire all the young people who are in this space. It's a great time to be in this space. There's so much going on. There's so much work to do. Make your networks while you're in school, because you're going to need them as you go out to your first duty stations. Reach back, learn as much as you can, and just be ready to be flexible, because every day is different. China is the target today, but it could be someone else tomorrow.
And if you're undecided, cyber's fun. It's fun,
Great.
Have a good time, a lot of work.
And if you're a civilian, you're part of the total force.
Yeah, there you go. All right, Matt.
For all the young people in the audience, I want to do some very ugly math right now. You're going to have to work another 50 years of your life. I'm sorry. So just knowing that, that's the truth. Invest in yourself now, and leverage that investment for the next 50 years. And then make some plans. You're going to have a career that goes like this. I know Garrett has, I think we all have. You're going to have that. Just be flexible, learn, educate yourself so you can see an opportunity and you can jump on it. One thing I always do a shameless plug for our senior service colleges. Given that 50-year span, you'll all be applying for senior service college in less than 20 years. So that's when officers go to the War College. So start making yourself competitive now to go to the Navy War College, the Army War College, or the National Defense University. We actually have a conference like this in a few weeks from now called Cyber Beacon, so you're all welcome to sign up 17, 18 October, Fort McNair, Washington, D.C.
Thanks.
Awesome.
All right, over to the Nutmeg State native.
The leader. It's, how many of you think you want to stay in the military as a career? All right, awesome. I guess my message to you is, you don't know if you're going to stay in as a career, right? You may get out in 5 years, and that's okay, and that's cool, because we need our citizenry to have ties with the military. But if you do stay in, I guess I would say there's a few things I think. The only thing I think that has made me successful as an officer was here's the key. Show up on time, have a great attitude, and do the work, right? If I had a tattoo, it would say, do your job. and I really believe that it's because it's going to be, you're going to have good days, you're going to have bad days, and you're going to transfer every 2 years, and you're going to, be stationed all over the world. But as long as you keep those axioms of, I'm here to do my job and have a great attitude about it and recognize that, this too shall pass and I'll go on to another challenge. To me, that's the key to kind of resiliency, longevity, being able to do this job for a long time. And so I wish you all the best of luck in it, and I think our nation is in great hands. Thank you.
And then I'll just kind of wrap it up with maybe one wish for all of the cadets and midshipmen here listening in your careers ahead of you. I wish for you difficulty and hard times ahead of you, and you will have plenty of those. And I wish those for you because that will make you a more resilient leader over time. All the folks listening, we've gone through some tough times on all the folks that came before us. They got through some really tough times, but it's what made them resilient and made them able to move up to the next higher level in their careers. And so I wish for you that. But when it happens, just remember, this is making me a better person, making me a better leader. And in the Army, we say, embrace the suck. That's what we say in the Army. So when it happens, and it happens today, I think as students to just understand it's making you a better person in the end. So I want to thank the panel, this amazing panel. Give them a hand.
Go ahead. Thank you.